All right, we're talking puppies. We're talking about training puppies. And the number one thing I want to do is I want to expose them to the world. I want them seeing things, I want them hearing things, I want them smelling things, but I also want some engagement with me. There's a lot of stuff that you can be doing as a puppy, exploring, but I'm the most rewarding thing of all the choices that you can make. Paying attention to me is the best. So am I barking commands? No, I'm really just shaping and I'm capturing when they can pay attention to me. I give them some freedom. They got the leash's length, but when they feel that leash pressure, they need to come back to it. Or when they just naturally are paying attention to me, I'm marking and I'm rewarding that choice. And I'm pretty much just doing that. We could do some fancy things like a heel, but really, I don't even want to focus on that. I want them to really actually see these dogs that are coming our way. And so what do I do before this? I'm proactive. I manage the space. I manage his freedoms. I get some reps in and I have a calm dog before we actually see these other dogs over there. Because right now he's thinking, those gears are moving in his brain. He's thinking, hey, what is that over there? Can I reach that thing? Can I interact with it? And is that going to be rewarding? Again, I'm managing this dog and I'm managing his freedom so he feels that leash. We got some reps. He knows somewhat of what to do. And then he comes back to me. That ends up being the more rewarding thing. Again, here he sees them walking away and he's thinking I had a little pressure. And then boom, he's coming and we're getting these reps of seeing things and ignoring them. But we're also playing. This is some of the work that we're doing. It's just fun. It's engaging. It's enriching. We're also teaching him, hey, some of these basics go to place. Sit down, sitting in front of me. We're running through laying down. But that's not my first thing. That's not the main goal of coming out here. The main goal is seeing these kids running around and having the self-control and the impulse control not to act on those impulses and his first thought. I want him to be able to share this space and not just have to go over to these kids or bark at them or be scared of them. So again, am I going right on over there? Nope. I'm making sure that he's calm while we move. Anytime he feels that leash pressure or I stop, I want him coming back to it. Because again, here, what is he thinking? He's saying, what is that? Can I go and interact with it? And is that going to be rewarding? Well, you know it's going to be rewarding playing with some kids, but he has to go through me first. And whenever he's paying attention to me, that's rewarding, no matter the freedom I give him. So even on a long leash with 15 feet of freedom, you still got to pay attention to me. You still got to be able to check in with me, engage with me. And even though you can be farther away, you're still feeling that leash pressure. I'm still managing the dog. I want him to see things, but again, I want him to also engage with me. And when he does, I'm marking, I'm rewarding, and I'm capturing it. Now, if the environment is too distracting, get some space. Go to a more quiet area. More importantly, start at home. All this stuff needs to be started at home so you can create somewhat of a understanding, a pattern, a habit, a behavior, so that your dog knows somewhat of what to do. Because here, it's just too chaotic. The last thing I'm going to be doing is working on any new behaviors or commands. I'm really just exposing and getting right from the get-go, right where we parked, starting right by the car. I'm getting a little bit of work done. And as I go, I'm going to take it chunk by chunk. I'm going to make sure that I can stop and I can have this dog calm, moving calmly, not pulling me around. He can check in with me. He can give me some eye contact before I'm getting into the chaos, before I'm crossing the street. And even right when I cross the street, I'm going to make sure that he can check in with me, he can engage with me, and that he finds this to be more rewarding versus just impulsively going and exploring the rest of the world. So again, I'm very proactive. I'm taking it chunk by chunk, making sure I get a bunch of reps in before we're in this situation where, again, he now has a choice to make. Is he going to be able to ignore his impulse to go and smell that dog? I want to make sure that I'm doing this before I'm getting too ahead of myself to where I'm going to lose the dog to the environment. Because here, now we come across something that's super important to work on. This guy is scared of the escalator. And the only way I would have known that is if, again, I would have taken him out and exposed him to these things. Here he's like, what is that? Get me away from it. I don't trust that thing. But what he does trust is me. What he does find rewarding is coming to me, paying attention to me. And again, I'm making sure that I'm doing this in little chunks so that I can basically see where his engagement's at, where his impulse control is at. At any point in time in this process, if he was so scared that he couldn't function, if he was reacting to this dog and he couldn't settle down, well then I shouldn't go any further into this chaotic environment, and I should just find his threshold and work around it, slowly pushing it. So again, take it chunk by chunk. Now what we're gonna do is get into the really chaotic area. And all I'm going to do is, again, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna treat this like any working session, and I'm just going to try to work on something specific, really just the engagement of paying attention to me. But since he's doing so well, I'm actually gonna throw in luring him into a down and just getting him to go through these basic obediences. I'm not commanding it, really. I'm just shaping and luring him through this process. He's pointed at me. He's able to see the rest of the world. But every single time, again, he checks in with me, boom, I'm marking, rewarding, and he's just finding a pattern that, oh, this world is crazy. Look at all this stuff around me. But every single time I choose to ignore that and pay attention to my handler, good things come my way, and that's way more rewarding. And again, we don't want an impulsive dog pulling us around, saying hi to everybody. It's not that he can't say hi, but what we want is him to have impulse control and some engagement onto us, so then he's not making any mistakes. And again, he can say hi to people, but I want him to ignore 10 people and then say hi to one. That's a good, and again, you can also have some free time. You can smell around, you can pee on things, but you can't just do it all the time. Just like interacting with his environment, I'll let him socialize with other dogs, for instance, but I want to make sure that I'm following kind of this protocol of we work first, then you get some free time, and then we're going to rest. This is what a lot of trainers do. They're working with their dog. And what could that be? That could just be playing. Just playing with your dog, not doing anything too crazy. You're not doing anything like protection work. Maybe just some recalls. Maybe just getting onto place, practicing a basic obedience of targeting something, and then going into a sit, going into a down. Then after some work and engaging with me, I'll give you some free time. So here again, we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. Here I get to see how he does with other dogs. And again, this is more so free time. He's allowed to adventure away from me. We're not working anymore. And he's able to just go about his business. He has the freedom of this 20-foot leash. Once he hits the end of it, I do want him to stop and come back to me. And even proactively, I'm gonna work on calling him away from the fence, because that's what I want him to be able to do when a dog comes up. But here I'm just letting that interaction come. I need to see how this dog socializes. He also needs to socialize with other dogs and be around them. And that's just, again, exposing him to these things. And now what we got, a little bit of a distraction. This is a real challenge for him now to pop out of this, forget about that dog, and then be able to come to me when I call him. That is so important. And it's not fair to him to not be able to see these things and interact with them, but he can't do it all the time. He's got to be able to ignore these impulses of going and running and playing. And I find actually working at the dog park or around the dog park is some of the best impulse control training you can do. So, key takeaways. What are we doing? We're exposing our dogs to the world, first and foremost. But we're also fueling their engagement. And I'm not barking commands, I'm really just shaping and marking when they do things or luring them into it. I'm gonna be proactive when I train. I wanna make sure I'm managing the dog and these situations. And I'm gonna branch out in just chunks. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna start all this stuff at home and make sure that we're doing some work before free time, and then I'm gonna have my dog rest.